Why is he alive? What's the purpose of you being here tomorrow if you're going to do the same thing today? What's the purpose? What's the purpose of another ungrateful kid? What's the purpose? What's the purpose of his existence if he's not going to do nothing for the world? What's the purpose of tomorrow if you're going to be the same person today? Think about it. What's the purpose? What happens? There's a situation in life where you see what's going on. Your soul is constantly wanting to do the will of the Creator. Your soul is constantly cleaving. It wants to do God's will. It wants to be happy. It wants to do mitzvahs, but your body is destroying it. Your body is creating a huge shadow for your soul. Huge, huge shadow. And that's what's happening today. So look what happens is when we see that a person does not want to do the will of God's will, what happens? The soul says, listen, the body doesn't want to go up there, but the soul says, I want to go up there. I'm done. I can't be in this guy's body anymore. It's too much. All day long he's in clubs. All day long he's depressed. All day long he's doing this. He's overeating himself to death. He's in Tavot Niyuv. He's in Tavot from Ammon, running after money the whole day. The soul says, I can't handle this guy anymore. I can't handle. I need a new person. I need a new person. So what happens? She begins to draw herself and depart from the person's body. There's the one major reason for sickness in life. The soul says, I can't be with this guy anymore. Whether he's got ADD, OCD, ABC, whatever Rashi Tevot of people get labeled nowadays. It's this klipot. The soul says, I can't be in this body any longer. This body is constantly weakening me. That's not the purpose why I was here. Just like I gave that class today. Your body's not here to sit all day long. Your body's here to move. You're not you're not created just to sit and play on your phone. You're created to move. So the same thing here. This is what makes a person sick. Due to the weakening of a soul that results from her drawing herself away from him because he did not do what she wanted. For she wants only to do the will of God, and there's a contradiction between the battle between the body and the soul. The more you feed your soul, the body's calm. The less you feed the soul, the body needs the tavot. This is an old-fashioned formula. If a person is able to have a healthy spiritual life, he can have a physical life. He can drive a nice car. He can have a nice house. He can enjoy his life. He can enjoy. I'm not telling you to become a mom and move to Tiberias and learn all day. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you that if you do not feed your soul, your body is going to break down because your soul is going to leave your body. So what is he saying here? That a person is restored to health by the means of medication is the result of the soul seeing. Now it sees, look, he's taking medication, so he's finally taking care of his body. It looks like he wants to live. So what happens? Because he's accustomed to eating bread and foods and now he has to overcome his desire by taking bitter medications. So the bitterness of the medications and the bitterness of the treatment that people go through when they're sick, it actually elevates their soul. That's why you fast. When you fast, what do you do when you fast? You're only feeding the soul. The body gets nothing. That's why when people have a bad dream, what do? You have to fast. What do you do? Why when there's major gezerot and Kal Yisrael, when there's major gezerot in life, what do we get called for? We get called to fast. Because we need to give the soul a boost. Because the body's like, listen, I'm 90-10. You got to be at least 50-50. If you're 90-10, body, and all your day long you're feeding your body, and you show up to a Friday night class and you say Shalom Aleichem, you're giving your soul very little. And eventually, you're going to have no meaning in your life, and you're going to turn to addictions, you're going to turn to other forms of things to make you happy, or you're just going to be a very, very bitter person. We all know them. We all know bitter people. But we tell them, why don't you try to get some spirituality? Why don't you try to work on your soul? No, it's not for me. It's not for me. Okay, that's what you chose. So what happens unfortunately nowadays, including me, we all get religious when we have rough things happen to us. Nobody just gets an email, be religious. Everybody here probably got religious because something happened in their life. They had a little saras, and they said, you know what? I'm down and out, I got to turn to God. Let's be honest. That's what happens usually nowadays. But at least, what are you doing? You're finally feeding your soul. So if you're feeding your soul, then your body has a chance to live. And then you can live. And then you can be happy. As long as there's a balance between the body and the soul, there's a balance. That's why people that are successful, at the end of the day, the only way they find happiness is when they start giving to other people. They find meaning in their life. You see big people, big CEO, only when they tie themselves to giving charity or giving something where they feed their soul, now they have a purpose of existence. Now they can say, well, we're making all this money, but we're making all this money to give it away. Or we're doing this to give it away, to do it. That's the key. So he says, once a person's restored, then that's the key. So your purpose in this world is to do the will of God. That's the purpose of this world, is to do God's will. And at the end of the day, he says, lesson 4, Rab Nachman says, it should make no difference to you. Clearly, he says, either a person is judged by the name Yud-Keh Vav-Keh or the name Elokim. Okay? So he says, when a person knows that everything that happens for him is for his benefit, this is the perception of the taste of the world to come. When you know that everything that's happened to you, it's absolutely for your best, then you have the world to come. Then you know, you're living, you know what? What's the difference? I was supposed to lose this money. It wasn't meant to happen. If I didn't lose it here, I lost it in something else. This was supposed to happen. I wasn't supposed to work here. We have millions of stories how people all of a sudden, you hear a story of Steve Jobs telling that he got thrown out of Apple. Because he got thrown out of Apple, why? Because he had to come out with Pixar. And he had to come out with Next. Every story you hear, there's not one CEO story you don't hear that there was a situation where they had a tremendous breakdown, where they thought there's no hope, and they had the resiliency to come back. Every CEO story, I don't remember one of them that's not like that. That a guy who made it, he had that moment where he thought the worst thing happened to him, but somehow he found the will and he found the way to come back. That's what you guys have to do. That's what people have to do. They have to wait for that comeback. Not be on the sidelines. That means you're going to get called to make that comeback. But unfortunately, if you're on the sidelines depressed, where's the guy? We called him out. Come. Oh, he's depressed. Oh, he missed a shot. That's what happens. That's the danger of becoming depressed. Because you're never going to get that turnaround. So if you realize that God is good to you, I say every single day, God is good to me. Rab Nachman has another Torah that clearly says, Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Love your friend as much as, but what is he really saying? Ve'ahavta l'recha. Love the Ra. Love the Ra that's coming to you. Love the bad that's coming to you. Because at the end of the day, compared to what you really deserve, you deserve a lot more. Because God is compassionate. He doesn't want to punish his children. But sometimes people need to get smacked over the face. Because they won't get the lesson if they just get a pat in the back. First he gives you a pat in the back. And then if you're not getting that lesson, then he smacks you. I know me, I got smacked. Heavy duty. But if it wasn't for that smack, I wouldn't be doing what my purpose in life is to do. I wouldn't know what my purpose is. If you don't get yourself out of the comfort zone, Hashem will get you out of your comfort zone very quickly. But that's going to be very painful. That's going to be very painful. So the key is, once you know that Yud-Keh Vav-Keh, which is Hashem's name, and Elokim, which is the name of judgment, is one, it's all coming from one. When we say every single day, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. It's the same Shema Echad. It's all one. It's the same God of Elokeinu and Yud-Keh Vav-Keh. It's the same God. It's not two gods punishing you. It's one God. Sometimes people see, whoa, what's going on in my life? No, but it's the same God. Once you understand that, then you realize, wow, I'm getting off a bargain. Every time I get hit, I got a deal. I say to myself, I got a deal. Because I'm not going to complain. Because if I complain, guess what? Then I'm resisting the deal. And then I start getting hit harder and harder. So first, God forbid, you lose this, then you lose that, then you lose that, and then you lose that. That's what I'm trying to get people to change. To accept whatever God's giving them and to stop complaining and crying. If you're going to cry, cry to become better. Don't cry for the problem. That will give you no reward. Did you ever hear the guy, wow, look at the depressed person of the year. He's the depressed person of the year. Did you ever hear such a thing? No. It's all about the comeback. Everybody loves a comeback. So now we're going to talk about Viktor Frankl. Okay? Beautiful book, it came out. Okay? And we're going to talk about his main concepts in his book. His main concept in his book was the fact that his whole will is a person's happy when it has meaning in his life. Where Freud was a person's purpose is what? Desire. And Adler's purpose was what? To become powerful. So that's why he had a big fight and he was about to quit. before we go into to his story, you should know that he was about to quit. He sold 10 million copies of his book. 10 million copies across the world. I think every therapy nowadays uses logotherapy. The Lubavitcher Rebbe came to him, unbelievable story before we start this. There's a story, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he was about to quit. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe had a common friend that he says, by the way, if you're going to Vienna, I need you to visit Viktor Frankl. This is before Viktor Frankl was really famous. And he sent somebody to send her, I believe her name is Margaret Charles or something. And he sent a message with her. And she went all the way to Vienna, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe told Viktor Frankl, sent a message. This is a message from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Do not stop your work. Your work is going to be very powerful, and it's going to help out millions of people. Look at the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He had the insight on how important this concept is today. Look at the Lubavitcher Rebbe, how the tzaddikim had this concept. So life is what? Life is 10% the problem, and 90% your attitude towards the problem. Life is 10% the problem, 90% your attitude towards the problem. So he was a psychiatrist who suffered through the Holocaust. Okay? And he realized that no matter what, nobody could demoralize him, nobody could take his freedom on what he focused on. Nobody could take his freedom on what his will was. So Viktor Frankl was able to endure the biggest suffering of pain and be able already to see himself out. That was the greatness of Viktor Frankl. To realize, to go through so much pain in your life and to be able already to see yourself out. So they realized many people who survived the Holocaust and who didn't, the ones who survived were the ones that were able to find meaning to their suffering. And they were able to see, after the Holocaust, I'm going to reunite with a loved one. I'm going to reunite with somebody. And that was the key. If the person already had a goal that he was getting out, he was getting out.
Ellen White showed the same thing.
Right, that was the major key. The people who gave up, God forbid they died L'Shem Shamayim. But the people who had a will to live, that's why if a person's in their own particular problem, as long as the person has a will to live, has a will, meaning in his life, has a purpose for everything, then at the end of the day, nothing bothers him. Because he's feeling God's will. That's the key. So what are the main concepts of Viktor Frankl's book? It says, everything can be taken away from you. Everything can be taken away but one thing. Your attitude towards any situation. That means nobody can take away your attitude. No matter what situation. I was involved in the worst situation. Once I changed my attitude, that I was deciding to be happy right now, not when this is over, not when I do this, that's when my attitude, I got a new burst of life. And I didn't care when the thing was over today or tomorrow. Because I said to myself, I don't need something else to be happy. Once you need something else to be happy, then you're always going to be waiting for that thing to happen. And it's like waiting for a train to come that's never going to come. Because guess what? Ungrateful people don't get what they want. You have to give God a reason to give you something. And ingratitude is the one reason not to give it to you. So everything can be taken away from a man, but one thing, your freedom of what you focus on. Second concept, at the moment of such pain, it's not the physical pain that hurts. It's the mental agony is the problem. It's not the divorce. It's not the this. It's the mental agony. It's the mental agony that depletes a person. We gave a share 2 days ago on 12 effects of stress on your brain. 12 effects of stress on your brain, what stress does to your brain. It shrinks your brain. You know your brain is made of neuroplasticity, that your brain can actually expand and actually become smaller. We have a class on SoundCloud. I gave 12 reasons on how you can lose your memory from stress, prolonged stress, God forbid, creates radicals, creates toxifications, all kinds of things. Tremendous amount of cortisol. What happens, that's what Rab Nachman says, do not do tshuva on Nochim Gadlut. Don't do tshuva when you're depressed. You won't be able to, because you won't have the head to get out of it. You need to do tshuva when you're Mochim Gadlut. When you're Mochim Gadlut, when you have expansion. When you have expansion of intellect, now I realize that I was ungrateful. When I was in that problem, I'm in Mochim Gadlut. I'm the victim. I can't see the good. You can't do tshuva then. Because you're not in the state to do tshuva. You're in the state of Mochim Gadlut. That name is Elokim. That's the guy who's ungrateful, so he's going to get one judgment after another judgment until he realizes, whoa, let me realize what I'm doing is not working. So you have to do tshuva on Mochem Gadlut. Mochem Gadlut, you have to, that's Yirkei Vavkei. That's the name of expansion. So if a person is able to do tshuva, he's got to do tshuva on the Yirkei Vavkei. On the Elokim, he won't be able to do tshuva. That's why you have to have Mochem Gadlut. You have Mochem Gadlut, which is higher intellect, is only through happiness. Only through happiness. Listen to what he's saying here. So it's the mental agony that's destroying you. It's not the snake bite, it's the venom, it's the emotions, it's the fear of the future, it's the Amalek, it's the thinking you're never going to get out. That's what's affecting the people. Okay? Listen to this. Unbelievable line. I've used some of these lines that are unbelievable. In some way, like we said, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment you find meaning. Like we just spoke about before. The minute you find the purpose, the minute you realize this Gamzula Tova, that's when everything else is gone. Everything, all the suffering disappears in one shot. Like I told you, how many stories do I know? I tell people that were in drug addiction. You know, if you didn't go through this drug addiction, you would never be connected to Rabbi Nachman. And nowadays you're doing 1 hour of Bodhidut a day. For you to get to an hour of Bodhidut a day, you have no idea how high the level is. If you would have never gone through this addiction, you would have never even thought about it. How many people nowadays that there are people in addiction that are now teaching classes to 40, 50 people in AA that I see. If you never would have gone through this addiction, you would have never been teaching classes in AA. You would never find the purpose of your life. But you have to go through that situation to feel another person's pain. So that his whole life makes sense to him. He's not even focused on addiction anymore. He's not even focused on relapse because he knows his purpose of life. His purpose of life is to help other people deal with addiction. Because another person cannot talk the same language as another person who's on heroin and at 3 o'clock in the morning, because that guy hasn't been on heroin at 3 o'clock in the morning. But this guy has. And he knows how to get to his brain. So people go through, once you realize the meaning that this whole purpose was to do this, or Shidduch broke up with one girl. And I know people that they're depressed because somebody didn't text them a message, an email, half an hour. Oh my God, this girl doesn't like me anymore. I'm depressed. Are you kidding? Don't force it. Maybe that's not the one for you. You're forcing something to happen. You're trying to put a square in a circle, shoving it. Maybe it's not supposed to happen. That's why you have to have emunah. Emunah is to know that everything that happens for you is for the best. If it's not, this girl wasn't supposed to marry you. It's funny, Rav Nachman talks about that sometimes a person has to meet 4 or 5 people in a shidduch before he meets his bride. And the dates are part of getting to the goal. So if you understand the dat, if you understand the knowledge that all suffering is one thing, is a lack of dat. The only reason why a person suffers is because he has no knowledge of why this is happening for him. If he has the knowledge, why do you need to suffer? That's the key. He says, listen to this line. Unbelievable line. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. $1 million line. There you go. When you can't change a situation, when you can't change it, no matter how much you cry, now you have to challenge yourself to change the situation. You have to change that situation. And see the situation differently. Major concept. Because people are doing what? They're trying to change the situation. And guess what? It's not changing. You have to become stronger. That's why I tell people, life does not get easier. You have to become stronger. If you're expecting life to get easier, you're just going to wait and wait and wait. It's not happening. It's not happening. There's more and more things to focus on, God forbid, in this world. But if he focuses on becoming stronger, learning Torah, talking to God, then at the end of the day, he's just as strong as his Yetzer Hara. And he can deal with life. But when you have no Torah, when you have no you're not feeding the soul, something happens, you don't know where to run. Rabbi Nachman clearly says in wisdom that a person who has no emunah has no life. You think he has a life, but he doesn't have a life. It looks like he has a life, but deep down he doesn't have a life. Because he doesn't know who do I turn to in this problem? Where do I go? Where do I go? I know, thank God, I'm fortunate to do his bodhidut every day. I have a problem, I know where I go. I have an appointment every morning, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I talk to God about the problem. That's it. That's all I have to do. I empty out the problem. Here you go, God. This is the problem I have. Teach me how to become better in the situation. Don't change the situation. See, people are trying to pray for a situation to change without them changing in the situation. Do you understand that that's like completely impossible to happen? You can't change God. You can change your perception. That means if you understand, you go to Mochim Gadlut. If a person goes to higher intellect, then he's able to understand life. So again, when you are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. So if you're not focusing on constant tshuva, how are you getting out of any situation? That means you have to realize that you viewed the situation. I viewed the situation. How did I change my situation? I realized that I had tremendous amount of ingratitude. I didn't realize how much ingratitude I had at that moment. I didn't see it because when you're in a storm, you can't see when you're in the storm. Why? Because there's a storm. You can't see in a storm. When you're in a storm, you're in a storm. So you can't see it. So once I was able to realize, wow, this is not going away. The more I complain, the more I focus on attorneys, the more I focus on this, the more I focus on that, this problem is not going away. It's not going away. Then I said, you know what? I'm just going to pretend it's over. And I'm going to be happy right now. And then, all of a sudden, this was over, that was over, that was over, that was over. It was like the magic wand opening up. So I said, wow, I can't believe what happens when you have ingratitude. Because ingratitude is really a form of gava. It's the ego. The ego is not accepting. How could you? You gave charity, you did this, this is what you should go through? Why me? Why is life happening to me? It's a famous line of Tony Rams. It's happening for you. It's happening for you, not to you. If you think life is happening to you, victim. If you think life is happening for you, it's an opportunity. So this is such an important line. Stop focusing on situations to change. Start focusing on you to change, to view the situation differently, and start changing your focus to focusing on what you don't have, to focusing on what you do have. You could solve the whole singles problem today by all of a sudden everybody being happy with themselves. That means they don't have the pressure of the marriage. I have a pressure now. I'm going to date. Oh my God! I'm 27. I'm 35. I'm not married yet. So they're going into the dates fidgety. They don't know what to do. They're all banged up. If they were happy with themselves, Hashem, if this is meant for the shidduch, it's meant to be. If this not, it'll be somebody else. Whatever you send me is for my best anyway. I'm not going to sit there and try to force. Oh, we have to get married now. We have to get married now. If we don't get married, I'm going to be 28. If I'm 28, what's going to happen to me? What are people going to think of me? Who cares what people think of you? Who cares? Who cares what people think of you? The minute you stop caring what people think of you, then you have freedom. The minute you worry about what people think of you, you have no freedom. You're going to marry the wrong person because of what people think of you. You're going to get into the wrong profession because you're what people think of you. Sometimes people get into the wrong professions because no, he can't be that. He has to make everybody happy. So I have to do this, something I completely do not like. So I'm going to be miserable because I'm going to make everybody else happy? You think that's going to make you happy at the end of the day?
No.
That's where you spend 90% of your life, at work. Go to work and do something you don't like to do, you're going to be very depressed. I guarantee you. Okay? So he says something very deep which I responded, which I spoke about many times. Everybody has a situation or an event. Okay? So he says between the event, you have two responses. You can either respond or you can react, and depending on whether you respond or you react, the outcome is completely different. We have a lot of people reacting. When you react, what happens? What happens usually when you react? You get what? You get angry. You get emotional. You just say whatever's on your mind. Did you ever apologize to somebody I'm sorry the way I responded to you? You don't ever apologize, guy. I'm sorry the way I reacted to the situation. When did you ever apologize for responding to a situation? Did you ever say, I'm sorry the way I responded? No, because that means you have to think about it. If I respond, I have to think. That means I don't just answer to anybody. First I think about it. Somebody's attacking me. Okay, I see this person's in a lot of pain. Right? This person's in a lot of pain. So I view them. They're just screaming because they had a rough day. If I join that emotional drama, guess what? I'm going to react and I'm going to say, leave me alone. Do this. I'm going to join that nonsense. If I respond, I stop. Who tells you have to react or respond? Is there a timeline when I have to respond? I can take 4 seconds to respond, 5 seconds. I don't have to respond when you want to respond. This is a very big key in Shalom Bayit. Because Shalom Bayit, they're going to ask you what? Where were you? What do you care where was I? What do you care? What do you think I was? What do you think that is? Reaction. Response. I have nothing to... I was here. It's like a customer. Customer's complaining. Okay, no problem. We'll see how we make it better. Guess what happens if you see a guy screaming at a customer? What do you think if you ever see a salesman screaming at a customer? Sounds like this guy's a hothead. You don't scream at a customer. Who screams at a customer? A guy who doesn't have a job anymore. So your outcome in life is going to be what? Based on your space between the event and how you respond or react. If you start responding to things in life, you're going to become much better and you're going to regret a lot less. You're going to regret a lot less. We know all anger comes from a reaction. Guess what? Rav Nachman clearly says in lesson 59, before Shefa comes down to a person, he's going to get tested with anger to see how he responds. He's tested. It's a test. If you blow it, Shefa goes to the other side. If you keep it, that Shefa, you get that Shefa. So you have to be able to be in the moment of not reacting all the time. Animals react. Humans respond. You have that, I respond. This will save you Shalom Bayit. This will save your work. This will save you everything. Because you might need to take 2-3 seconds left. So that's a very important concept that he came out with. The person's ability to respond or react to a situation. Very, very deep concept. You understand, these lessons are major lessons for life. I mean, these are major keys to life. So if you think about everything, situation in your past, how you responded, reacted, you could say, oh my God, I regret, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did that. Stop saying I can't believe it and start working on put a pause button between the question and think. Okay, now I will respond at my pace. My emotions are not going to discipline me. I'm going to be disciplined over my emotions. If my emotions discipline me, then I have no life. So he says here, you have to live as if you were already living for a second time. Beautiful concept. Imagine you already saw your life in a movie. How would you live the second time? How would you live the second time? You would change a lot of things, wouldn't you?
A lot.
You would change a lot of things. If you would come here a second time, say pretend right now you're living in a second time, how would you see life differently? Deep concepts. How would you see life differently? You would change a lot of things. I know I would change a lot of things. I would change a lot of ingratitude that I did in the past. I would change a lot of complaining that I did for no reason. I would definitely change a lot of things. So he says, he who has, this is also by another person came out, Viktor Frankl, he who has a why to live for can bear any how. If you have a why, if you have a purpose to life, no matter what happens, you can bear it. If I know this is my dream business, I don't care what happens. If there's a permit, if there's this problem, if there's that problem. Because this is my dream business. This is my dream. I'll do anything for this business. Your why has to be bigger than your how. When your how is bigger than your why, you have nothing accomplished. Major concept. Your why has to be bigger than your how. You have to have a why. Why do you get up every morning? Why do you get up every morning? What's your purpose? That's what makes you get up. Otherwise, you're going to get people calling you. Wake me up at 10. Wake me up at 10. Put the snooze button. Because the guy has no reason to wake up. Nobody has to wake me up in the morning. I already have a why to live. I have many purposes to live. I don't need to get waken up. Here, come to tshuva. Come learn Torah. You don't have to push me to learn Torah. You don't have to push me to do exercise. You don't have to push me to do these things. Because I already have a why. Once you have the why, you don't need help from anybody. If If you don't know it, then you have a problem. Okay? So the bottom line is these are major concepts, and if a person starts realizing that it's all about your attitude, it's all about your attitude in the situations. If a person is able to realize his attitude, that our job in this world is to get to the world to come. I know it doesn't sound so fancy. Who wants to get to the world to come? I don't want to worry about this world. But your job is to get to the world to come. If you realize on instead of being more, working on your soul, getting closer to God, that's then at the end of the day, the materialism at the end of the day, you're not going to be chasing like everybody else. And you're not going to have this triad of a midlife crisis when you're 45, 30, 50, going to a doctor and asking him, I have everything, but I don't know why I'm here. I have everything, but I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I'm here. You're going to a doctor to tell you why you're here. How many psychiatrists? I don't know why I'm here. Because you didn't feed your soul. And that's the problem. So it's not, unfortunately, nowadays, people realize, they think, oh, if I get close to God, if I start becoming restive, if I start getting religious, I'm going to be downgrading my life. They think, I'm going to be downgrading my life. Now I'm going to be weaker, I'm going to be overweight, I'm going to be dressed differently. Who says that? Who says that? Getting close to God is one of the most empowering things you can get in life. This is in your head telling you this. Who's telling you that? This is in your head. This is why people are afraid to get close to God. Because they think, oh, I'm not going to be cool anymore. I'll have to dress differently. Who's telling you this? Who's telling you this? Stop telling yourself nonsense. A person can get close to God, and that's the only way he's going to be able to fight his Yetzer Hara. Because if not, your Yetzer Hara is going to overcome you, God forbid, and overtake your life. And this is not what you want. All right? That's today's class. Yes, go ahead.